And then now I'd like to introduce the rest of our panellists who are going to give just a personal reflection of their journey to where they are now. First up, my gutta, well known to everybody, clan leader, of course, from Gulmach, ex-director, managing director and founder of Timaru, and now working in his own family organisation in a senior position, Jauna pingo.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jauna pingo. I just want to talk about and reflect my college days here, what was once the Tupuma College. Tupuma was named after our father. He named it Tupuma, which means looking up. And I guess Tupuma and looking up in my father's way of thinking was to look up into the future as well. You know, how our education would become. I first started in 1973. I had excelled in the local, at Gulkula school, and then there was a talk about coming to Tupuma College. Mr. Billy McMahon, when he was the Prime Minister of Australia, he came and opened our college. I think the rest of the panelists, that was before that time, I guess. Mada, Tony, you went here, eh? You too. Yo. When the Prime Minister came up in the college for us, you weren't here. Anyway, there are students from Maningrida, Milingimbi, Remangining, Galawinko, Kapuyak, Irkala, Crude Island, Nuka, and I think there were some from Borroloola as well. We had a good time, I guess, during our school days. And I have to be honest, because they were never, on my country, I never bullied them. I said, look, feel at home with us. Do what's best for you. And a year later, I asked my father whether I could go to another college. And he said, look, do what you have to do. So I went to Comilda College in Darwin. And, I had a good time there as well with the rest of the students from around the top end. And there were some from Central Australia before Yarra College was opened. But like Greg mentioned before, that the Bungle ground used to be our oval. That's where we held sports, and we had a shed down there with, full of bicycles, and we'd ride in the afternoons after school. It brings a lot of memories, like there are just a couple of us sitting here today, and talking about Tupuma College, and there were so many students here. If there was ever a time for an anniversary of Tupuma College, I'd be glad to bring them here and let them talk for themselves. So it's just my reflection on Tupuma College, and I've come a long way myself. I've been with Timaru for 20 years, I think, and I'm happy working for my family's business. So But my journey's been good, by the way. And here I am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jauna. Next, I'd like to introduce Tony Wuramoa, AO. He's a Wanindiliaqua man from Groote Island. Today, he's the chairman of the Andiliaqua Land Council and the recipient of the Order of Australia. Tony has successfully negotiated 2 major mining agreements with BHP Billiton on behalf of the traditional owners. He has also led negotiations to partner with the Commonwealth and Northern Territory governments to deliver major investments in housing, infrastructure, health and education in his region. Tony is also a senior ceremonial leader, responsible for ceremonies and families, and recently helped lead a major ceremony for his people at Numbulwar. He's a former student of Dupma College. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. Thanks, Greg. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tony Wuramoa, and I come from Groote Island. But first and foremost, I'd like to pay my respects to the landowners of this land that we meet on, past and present. Now, as Greg said, I'm a past student of the great college of Dupma College. I first started my education at the community school at Gulkula. Then I went over to the mining town of Gulkula and started my education there as well. But in my education, my father felt that for me to get more experience, that I need to get away from the island and go to somewhere different and live differently and have more education. So hence I came over to Dupma College. This college meant something for me. I've learned a lot, especially in what you call the mainstream education. For us as Japanese people coming into a world of mainstream education is very, very difficult. It's a different environment for us because we are entering into an environment that's very alien to us. Hence we've got to adapt. But unfortunately for me, I did adapt. I had to balance my 2-way of education, my father's education, which I left behind, plus also the mainstream education. I had a balance. Without the balance, I wouldn't have proceeded. But I was very fortunate, so coming here, it enabled me to have a better outlook on life. Because let's face it, we as African people, we can't go back in the past. It's always the mainstream. We've got to look ahead. And Dupma provided me that opportunity. As Greg said, I recently helped 2 major negotiating with the mining company on the island. As you probably don't know, that mining company was on the island for the last 50-odd years plus. The negotiating of the mining company was done through the Church Missionary Society. Because we at that time, our forefathers and our elders didn't have the knowledge or the education to negotiate with the biggest mining company in Australia or even the world. But come 50 years on, about last month I did negotiate or sign a new agreement with the mining company, which actually I negotiated for the last 10 years. It was an uphill battle. As we all know, mining companies don't want to give an inch. If they don't want to give an inch, I still got the extra yard. You've got to negotiate with us before you have an agreement. And it was a very, very difficult time for me. But in the end, I achieved what my elders instructed me to do. did sign the agreement, which benefited both the mining company and the people of the Great Island Archipelago. But unfortunately for me, my father passed on before I signed the agreement. But he was a major leader in my life, for actually encouraging me to go to school and get a better education. I recently went with the previous Governor General of Australia, Dame Quentin Bryce, and we was fortunate enough to go and travel with her to places like Canada and meet Indigenous people in their own environment, and I learned a lot. I, as an every person, also travel around the world. Been down the States twice. Been down to China as well, a couple of times, and I learned what other Indigenous people are doing within their own communities, and for me to bring back that experience and actually apply it within my communities. And for me, as Greg said, I've been the chair for the last 10 years. This will be my 13th year now. And for me to have that great responsibility on my shoulders is due to the education that I received here at the Bar College. I can go on for hours, but thanks everyone for listening. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony. We might stick with the Groote Eylandt connection. It's my pleasure to introduce Thomas Amagula to you. I think Thomas over the years might have been Tony's right hand. Thomas is now living over in this part of the world, and he's part of the senior staff at Timaru. He's married into the Gumatj family, and I'm sure he'll tell us a little bit more about that when he tells us his educational journey. So thank you, Thomas, and welcome.
Thank you, Greg. My name is Thomas Amagula from Groote Eylandt. I'm an Indian local man. My education journey started at home with my dad, learning my way, and then one day my parents asked me to go away, but I didn't have any choice. I went to a school called in Charles Towers in Queensland called All Souls and St. Gabriel's College for 3 years, and I actually looked up to my elders as leaders. As I was going to college in Charles Towers and coming back home, I went back to Bush and learned about my other part of the education, men business education. And when I was within the school, I kept going, and I realized that, why my parents sent me to school, because it was so important to become a leader in my community. Well, through the journey, as Greg was saying, I was working for Energy Local Land Council for 11 years. I worked alongside Tony. I was his right-hand man, and Tony taught me a lot as well as we were traveling around the world, looking at other places, how BHP Billiton doing their business in other parts of the country. And through that journey, I've also learned a lot. And with the connection here, living now in Gulf with the Gumatj wife, actually her grandfather, what Jauna said earlier on, his father was Mungaroe. Mungaroe is my uncle, and he's got a connection to Groote Eylandt, which is the Antaranga people was his grandmother. side, his mother's side of the family. And coming over to Timaru and working for Timaru for the last 2 years as an executive support officer, I actually work with a lot of programs through learning on country and all that, which is linking a classroom to the country and a country to the classroom. It's a program that we, as Timaru Aboriginal Corporation, partnership with the Gulkula School. And I actually like that program because true education is a thing that my people really want to explore to the journey, because it makes it easier and for them to understand the two-way learning. So I am actually really grateful to be part of the team at Timaru with doing my two-way education learning through the Gulkula schools. So I think that's about it for me. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Barawa Mununguru, Japu clan leader, chair of Lanapui Homeland Association, member of the Yumbirupa School Council, an ex-chair, has been a wonderful contributor to the directions that education have taken here, and a passionate arguer for quality education so that Aboriginal kids, Yolngu kids, can receive an education on a par with every Australian student. It's been a passion of his, and I welcome him here today and look forward to hearing Barawa's journey.
Thank you, Greg. Well, actually, I was being told to keep it short, but I'll yeah, now it started all up with back in 1970, when with the missionary schools, we were going there, and my father said, you know, we were doing a both-way education with Yolngu education and white man's world education. And my father said, I think you should go somewhere. Where? And then the missionary said, to Brisbane. Brisbane Methodist College. Although my mum wasn't quite sure about that, but yeah, I did go there for 2 years and came back and started to see the education is the key for it all. You must be to have a quality of education both ways. Your Yolngu ways and the Ngabagi ways, the white man's way. Oh yes, because then it opens the door to the outside world. Education gives us that strength, the power to continue and to work with our kids and to have that education so that we can be educated to where we are now. And to have kids going to school is vital. It's very, very so. And when I look at it now and have experienced and seen that many kids have succeeded going through year 12 and working hard, and that's happened because we had a good, strong principal in Greg's time with the late Dr. Yunupingu. And he was there. We were trying to build a good governance and a good leadership, and had our own council, school council, and that gives us the strength to stand on our own feet. And we were doing that to make it right, to look right, not in the eyes of government, but in the eyes of Yolngu people, because we thought that education is the key to it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Brawa. Since over the period that our panellists have been describing, it hasn't all been plain sailing. There's been ups, there's been serious downs, and there are many challenges, and there are many connections that need to be made. And it's largely, I think, in our hands and non-Aboriginal hands for us to take heed of what we're being told and to undertake the necessary collaboration, the necessary partnerships all through the educational endeavour, including all sectors, so that the very best of what we know can be offered and what we know we can deliver in partnership and what we know our Aboriginal teaching college can deliver can really, really make a difference. We've got some challenges. There's lots of new policy initiatives around, and we'll hear of some of those today, later on in this education forum. And I guess our plea is, let's join the dots and make it work. We've got a bit of time now, and the opportunity now exists for really anybody to offer a reflection, a comment, if that can be arranged. I don't want to put her on the spot, but I would very much like to welcome Beth Graham to this forum. Beth may choose to say a few words. She is launching a book this evening, a book of reflections where she wrote home to her mother every week when she first came as a mission teacher to Gulkula, went on to be one of the senior advisors in the Department of Education. And I think if you have time this evening, you will enjoy the book launch. Beth has obviously decided to say a few words.
I can't resist the opportunity. I've been talking
Welcome,
Indigenous
Beth.
education since 1962. I'm a member of the Yolngu clan. They took me in. I'm Ngarrindjin, and that's been a great blessing all my life, and I'll talk about that tonight. Look, there's good education and there's bad education. Everyone wants a quick fix. It takes time. The people who do well in the whitefellas education system are the kids whose parents have come through it, and they talk to them like school and read to them and push them in the door, and they feel at home. What we're doing with our own kids is starting where they are. When we offer that mainstream education to Yolngu kids or Arnhem kids or Walbury kids or any of those others, we break the rules. We don't start where they are. A quick story. When I was back here in the 70s, getting the bilingual program going, 2 little boys got lost. Someone had been with them and had a mental breakdown and came in, and we had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old out there, 3 days out. They went out looking, and the 5-year-old was nearly home. The 3-year-old got tired, and the 5-year-old had made a nest and said, "Stay there, I'll come back and get you." So when they picked up the 5-year-old, they went and got the 3-year-old and brought them in. Those children had found water, they had found food, they knew which way to go. Bright, clever, sturdy people who knew who they were and how to survive. I went home and looked at my kids and decided they could probably die in my kitchen. The thing is, when we only offer these clever kids a mainstream education, the day they walk through the door, they are deficit. They are deficit because mainstream education is written about us. We count. We count the time, we count the weight, we count the cups when we're cooking. We're counting all the time. We're a counting society, and that's where we start the kids. Those little boys who are out lost, who were lost that time or left behind but came in on their own, know where they are. They know where they are in space. All those kids down in the centre, before they can really toddle, are saying, I'm going south to the campfire, I'm going west home. The only people who can't do it's us. Now, when you take those bright little kids who you know are clever and can learn, and you put them in just English-only education, from the day they walk through the door, they're going to be deficit. There's no alternative. And the walls of the program will keep saying to us, you've got to be like us. They don't have to be like us, they have to be like them. And we know that. We know with our little children, we make them strong. We make them know who they are. We make them know how they belong. We make them feel terrific. If you want Indigenous kids in Australia to feel like that, you have to have Indigenous teachers working in the language they speak and then add on what else they need to know. So that's the first rule of education. It works for us. It works for everyone in the world. You start where they are. Since World War II, we've started in educating Indigenous minorities. The research is now rolling in. Children learn better if they understand the language spoken in school, and it lists all the research studies. It's not new, it's been happening for quite a while. And this is the crucial thing, because we want people to be able to speak English. But the research shows for Indigenous minorities, not town kids, Indigenous minorities, the level of development of children's mother tongue is a strong predictor of their second language development. Put simply, you want them to speak well and be able to control English. Don't start with English, a little bit, get them into it. Build their first language. The level they get in their first language will govern the levels of control they'll have in the second language. That's the research that's coming in from all Indigenous minorities in the world. Why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? The World Bank, who works with a lot of these people, has come out in 2006 and said, when the language of learning, or the mother tongue, and the language of instruction, English for us, do not match, learning difficulties follow. Why do we do it? Not only is it a loss for the children, when we don't have Aboriginal people working as teachers, we keep control of the schools. They interpret for us. The power stays with us. When we have Indigenous teachers who can see at Gulkula, we have the power being shared. People taking really senior positions. And when you work in the language, you create jobs. You set up a literature production centre. You start recording stories. You start printing books. All those things that create people who are being modern people in a very old culture. It's really important. If kids are going to go to school, they need a few role models around that says it's worth going to school. We know all these things. The research is there. The question Australia has to, and mainstream Australia has to answer this question. If you look at the gerrymanders operating around, it's very hard for Indigenous people to bring about change. The question we have to ask is, why do we give our children the best education that we can by following the rules and the research, and we don't do it for Indigenous children? Thank you, Greg, for giving me a chance.
Thank you, Beth. And I think the important thing to do is to locate these discussions in a context where Aboriginal parents, Aboriginal community leaders can make the choices themselves about the directions that they would like the education program to take.